All right, all right. How you having me there, Renee?
Yeah, hello.
You got me good? Okay. All right. We're just gonna bring it in, listen to a few sounds first, and then we'll go ahead and get the music play for a few minutes, and then we'll just get kind of warmed up and let people fall on in.
Sounds good.
Let me know you got your live on.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Live.
That's good. Yeah, the sounds of my little brother Justin. Remember Jay Will?
Yeah.
Back when you were changing your brakes a couple months ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we do a little something here. Yeah. All music and rights belong to G5 Records. You know what I'm saying? So that's how we do it. Yeah. All right, yeah. It's the beginning of a new era.
Happy New Year.
Hey, happy New Year to you too, brother. You know what I'm saying?
2021.
I know, right? You know what I'm saying? You got anybody coming in yet? Who got in?
No, not yet.
Okay, man, no problem. All right, we're gonna send this link out here in a minute. What's up, man? See, you can't even say that right now. That's the thing about it. Yeah. Bring surprise people in. Just shocked you, huh?
Yeah.
I know, right?
Never even met.
Ever.
Yeah.
Ever.
How about that?
I know, right? Surprise, right?
Yeah.
See, I had that for you. Didn't even let you know. Didn't let it out the bag or nothing. Totally took you by storm, right?
Yeah.
Still speechless, right? Yeah. We're going to bring him in a little while. You know what I'm saying? We're going to get through a little bit of stuff first, and we're going to bring him in as well. You know what I'm saying? We ain't going to let the guests know who it is yet. You know what I'm saying? We got a surprise in the building. But we'll go ahead and close this on now. All right. So we have the man, the myth, the legend. We have Mr. Renee Garza, aka Northern Cross Transport, aka the Cross is what I call him. And but other than that, he's a great friend of mine. And I say that in a couple different ways, just businessman and also business friend. Later on in the show, I'll kind of get to the details of how me and this young man really became acquainted with one another. But I learned a lot from him, you know what I'm saying? And people in trucking, I mean, a guy like yourself, and I'm not gonna tell the story, I'm gonna let him tell the story, but to have the number of years that you have in this industry is very impressive, and not just from the, people look at it and they say, oh, hot shots, 18 wheels, whatever. But people, what I try to tell people and get to understand that the trucking business is a business. Whether you have 18 wheelers, or whether you have hot shots, whether you have box trucks, or whether you have cargo sprinters, or whatever it is, right? It's a business, and they all run the exact same thing, same way. The only difference is that one carries a little more weight than the other, or a lot more weight than the other. But the requirements from the FMCSA is the same, and so it's really a logistics company. So those are the things we're really going to talk about here on this channel. And it's not just trucking, it's really about everything and all things business. Because one, we want people to get out here and really understand what business is, So without further ado, my man, my mellow, the man of the hour, Mr. Renee Garza, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So, hey, listen, I know it was a hard way getting you out here. I waited around to do this show because I just really didn't know how to start the podcast because I wanted to really have a format of talking business, period, right? But because we're all in the trucking industry, I said, you know what, let me, we had a conversation, we were just gonna go meet up to eat some food. I said, you know what, man, I'm gonna go ahead and start it off with you. How about that? You know what I'm saying? So I'm honored, and I thank you.
Thank you. I was lost for words when you asked me.
Oh, come on, man. You know how we roll. So, hey, tell us a little bit, some of the people, tell them a little bit about yourself, if you don't mind.
Well, I'm third generation truck driver. My father drove, my grandfather drove, dad drove for 38 years. I traveled 23 states with them by the time I was 17. So it was in the blood. It was something I always wanted to do.
Okay, I know that you said so from the beginning. So Pops was driving those trucks. So like, when did you actively get into the seat? I know when you got in there, but like, when did Pops say, "Hey, come get your ass in the seat"?
Well, he had been up 72 hours one day, and he kept closing his eyes, and I kept telling him, "Dad," and he said, "Just looking inside, looking inside."
Right.
And I was sick. I just turned 16, and he had me jump in the driver's seat to take over because he couldn't stay awake. And we were here in Houston,
Okay.
and we were living in San Antonio, and so I drove a 53-foot reefer from Houston to San Antonio. And he said, and he told me, he says, "What happens in the truck stays in the truck."
Okay.
Because he made a promise to Mom that I wouldn't drive until I was 18.
Right.
And so got into the house, and my mom took one look at me, looked at him, and said, "You promised." And he says,
Right.
"What?" She says, "He drove." And he looked at me and said, "You weren't supposed to say anything." I said, "I didn't say nothing." She said, "I could tell with the grin on his face."
Right. Hey, Mama knows her baby now. She had you, so she knew what was going on. Okay, so from that time you had the book. So was it one of those things that you said, "Hey, Dad, you got to let me get in the seat," you know what I'm saying, as soon as possible?
Well, I moved the truck from the driveway and around the yard before many a times for him, but as far as actually, keeping double nickel, 55, stay
Right.
alive, that was his motto at the time, because didn't want to attract any attention. And he always made me wear a T-shirt underneath, and I didn't understand why a white T-shirt, because when he got in, living in Texas, so hot, he'd always take off his shirt, hang it, and he'd have a white T-shirt on. And so he said, "You got your T-shirt on?" I said, "I do." He says, "Come on over." So he made, I took this shirt off.
Okay.
So if a highway patrolman saw a white shirt and I was doing something wrong, I could wake him up and we'd jump cross seats, and then he would see a white shirt in the driver's seat and wouldn't think nothing of it. So that was.
Oh, see, that's smart. See, your Pops, he got some things about him. You know what I'm saying? So that was cool. That was teaching slicks early on, right?
If I hadn't worn my T-shirt that morning, I wouldn't have been able to drive that day.
Okay. So at that point, you're doing the back and forth in the yard and just kind of moving the truck around a little bit. So when did you really know that, hey, you know what I'm saying, this is what I'm going to do?
Well, I've always known, just because following Dad's footsteps and being up high like that and being able to see the cars, it was something I've always wanted to do. And here, 26 years later, I'm still out on the big road.
So did you choose to stay around in the San Antonio area? Because I know you started driving a little bit, then you started teaching.
Well, yeah, I was a CDL instructor here in Texas, but I ended up going to UTI in Arizona, got my associate's degree in automotive diesel transmission, air conditioning, refrigeration.
Okay.
And only because if I was going to drive the truck, I wanted to be able to repair the truck.
Right.
And so I got my associate's degree in that. And then after UTI in Arizona, I ended up moving up to Alaska, got into the oil field, so doing rig moves and ice roads. And so I wanted to get into the serious type of trucking, so I went up to Alaska.
Okay, so how was the experience? So now tell me this right here. You from down here, Texas, good heat, and you decided to go up to Alaska and say you want to drive some trucks in Alaska, all places. What was it like getting there, driving the first time?
Oh, it was crazy. Arizona plates going up north and Alaska plates coming down south. They told me I was confused. They're like, "You're going the wrong way." I said, "Well, and it was in September. I said, well, if I survive the winter, then I got it whooped, And so tripled up on my Arizona clothes, and that wasn't quite enough.
Okay. What was the temperature you got there? Do you remember?
It was in the late 20s. No, it was about in the 30s when I got up there. It was what they call snow capped. All the mountains are still snow capped.
Beautiful though, right?
The northern lights, it was gorgeous.
So you knew at that point you was in love with the area.
26 years.
Ooh.
And up in Alaska.
Okay, so what is it? So you were what, a greenhorn? They call it up there.
A Chachaco.
Who?
A Chachaco.
Chachaco. Okay, so you're Chachaco up in Alaska. Who gives you your first chance?
Oh, that was a struggle. It didn't matter how many miles you had down in the lower 48. They're like, it doesn't compare to the miles up here in Alaska. So I had an old timer give me a job working up on the haul road.
Okay. What's that haul road? What's that?
The road up to Prudhoe Bay.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, that's where they film the ice road truckers.
Okay.
And so it was summertime, so I got my feet wet in the summertime doing the haul road.
Mm.
We were chip sealing 23 miles up to Gobbler's Knob is one of the dangerous areas that people from up there know what Gobbler's Knob, but anyhow, I was up on the Hall Road before I
Okay.
started driving.
All right. Man, okay. So talk to me through that a little bit.
We were chip sealing, so the government allowed the state of Alaska to repair some of the gravel road and chip seal it. So it's the stage that they use before they actually asphalt the road. So
Okay.
that's how I got my feet wet, driving truck up there, working for an old timer,
Right.
driving up there.
Okay. All right. So that's good. So and I wanted to get that out because I wanted to kind of get the foundation of where you started, how early you started, you know what I'm saying? Where you started out at, you know what I'm saying, and learning. Like you said, it didn't matter how many miles you had in the lower 48s. Driving up in Alaska was a total different situation, So it was based on getting experience, not driving, but experience of driving in those conditions consistently, right?
Up in Alaska, they wanted Alaska miles, not so much lower 48 miles.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So that was prevalent there. Okay. All right. So you up there for a while. I mean, talk to me about what kind of trucks did you drive? Did you go heavy haul? Did you lumber? What?
Yeah, a KW, a W900 is what I was driving.
Okay.
I was doing a water tanker, hauling asphalt. We were rotor milling where they were chip sealing the road, and so just a semi end dump, side dump, and a belly dump. So that's where I got my start in it. I was doing construction work, side dump, belly dump.
Okay. All right. So you do that for a while, and then we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna move forward about 20 years. Okay, about 20 something years, we're gonna go ahead and move forward because you've done the majority of your driving and everything up there in those conditions. So you really understand driving the ice, driving the snow, chains on, chains off, getting stuck, pulling yourself out by yourself.
50 below, the only truck out there.
Ooh. So we're gonna get into the trucking aspect of it, but I want to get to this point where you said, you know what, I'm gonna do this hot shot thing. Talk to me about it. Like, what made you come to that conclusion?
I was working for Carlisle Trucking, which is the ice road trucking outfit that used to be on the History Channel, and I was doing 80 hours a week hauling crude oil, pulling doubles and tankers. And at that point, I figured if I'm going to work 80 hours a week, I might as well do it for myself. And,
right.
And that's when I decided to get in the hot shot. And I have a mentor, buddy of mine up in Alaska that I talk to when it comes to these kind of big decisions that I always looked up to. And so Marty Hansen, during the time that I was working for Carlisle Trucking, his house was right the route that I would deliver my crude oil. And after the end of the shift, I would stop over at his house. We'd have a beer. We'd discuss. And he's the one who actually helped me come up with the actual name of Northern Cross Transport. I mean, we had throughout 50 different names,
right.
And from the color to the number, the name, everything represented something. And he was a huge influence when it came to that. And moving down here, I reinstated my authority when I had my trucking business, rag trucking. And so my authority is 19 years old and $1,800,000 in a big truck, and now $200,000 doing it in a hot shot.
Okay, so that's good. So now, so you made a decision. You say, you know what, I'm about to go. I mean, I've seen all the pictures of Goliath from birth to what it is now, during that process. And so you get on the road and you drive on down from Alaska, right?
Yep.
So you drove from Alaska. You didn't have your trailer. You drove down to get the trailer. Yep. And where'd you get the trailer from?
And New Jersey.
New Jersey. So you drove from Alaska to New Jersey.
Over 5,500 miles dead end.
To get the trailer, just so you can start.
Yeah.
So that lets people know a little bit of understanding why you have the pride in your equipment that you do. I mean, you didn't just say, "Hey, let me grab something. Let me jump down here to Washington State since it's close, and grab a trailer." Like, you really did some research. And you took that trip all the way over to the East Coast to reach the trailer.
I did. I actually didn't have intentions of doing the hot shot for another 3 years.
Okay, so what happened?
And when I was going to do it in 3 years, it was going to be with the 4,500, 5,500 Chevy truck, the class 7, class 6, 7, mid-sized truck.
Okay.
I bought Goliath, and it was just to go to work and back and church and back. But my daughter was living here in Texas, and she got pregnant. And so I needed to get down here and help her. And so I ended up turning my daily runner into the truck that it is today.
Okay.
And being that I was already 3 months into the truck, because I was gonna do the hotshot in 3 years.
Okay.
And since I was 3 months into it and I didn't want to take a loss and trade it in, I just converted what I already had into what she is today.
Okay, so something you had already, you just go ahead and say, hey, you know what, let me go ahead and hit the name up, use your numbers from RAG, right? And RAG stands for what again?
Renee Alexander Garza.
Okay, trucking, was it transport or?
RAG trucking.
RAG trucking, okay. All right, so you did that piece, and so now you're out there running. So this is the piece that I really want the people to get a hold of. Now, excuse me, we can understand there's 1,000 ways in order to start a company, okay? And nobody's here saying this way to do it or you should only do it a certain way. You do what's best for you, and that's what I tell anybody. I say, hey, man, there's 1,000 ways to skin a cat. Hey, you skin it, the way you need to skin it for yourself. But I always say at the same time, a lot of people have went through some of these processes, and they may have something there that you could possibly use. Nobody's telling you to use it, but you could possibly use. And they kind of get over some of those humps that's there, okay? Because no matter what, we all have the same issues.
Baby steps.
Baby steps, you know what I'm saying? And there's nothing wrong with it.
No.
Whether some people get new equipment, some people get older equipment, because they get what they can afford or they get what they can get. Everybody's not ready to jump right out full heads,
or use what they have.
There you go. And in your case, that you did, you had a daily driver and you converted. You know what I'm saying? And which I definitely think was a smart thing.
So, like you're saying, if somebody already has a truck and they're wanting to get into this, so you have to decide whether or not you're going to do CDL work or non-CDL.
Right.
And so if you have a pickup truck, an SRW, which is a single rear wheel,
right,
and if it's a 3/4 ton or a 1 ton, then you can get into the hotshot. But at that point, being that it's a single rear vehicle, you're going to end up doing a non-CDL stuff.
Right.
Because of the weight restrictions. So you're going to be doing 26,001 pounds. And then you can start from there. And as far as the trailer, well, that's going to depend if you have, direct clients, if you want to go air ride, dual axle, single wheel,
right, and
go air ride because, they require some of that, or just get a basic trailer to get out there and start making some money and start expanding yourself. As far as once you get the money going, then you can get you a longer trailer, bigger trailer, get you the dually and so forth. But to each his own. I at the time, because of where I was at and the money I was making, I had the luxury of being able to turnkey my truck when I ordered it. Goliath was $100,000.
Right.
And one of the things that some people don't think about at the time is when you go buy a truck, the truck may cost you $60,000. And then if you go to your buddy and dump $30,000 worth of accessories into the truck to perform that duty, that job, should you wreck the truck or it gets stolen, the insurance is going to pay you the $60,000 of what you paid for the truck.
Right.
Unless you go get it appraised and insured for the value. So I had all the accessories done at the dealer.
Okay, smart.
So the truck was $100,000. So if I wreck it or get it stolen, they're going to cover the $100,000.
Right. So it's just like anybody when they buy a car. You know what I'm saying? They can get extra things put on it. You know what I'm saying? The insurance company will tell you, hey, if you get some stuff put on your car, let us know. You know what I'm saying? Once those things can be insured, so that way in the event it gets an accident or total or something, you can get the value of everything that's comes with your car.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And like I said, a lot of people probably don't do that. Now, if I can just back up just a little bit only because one, I just want to get to the part of a person starting, because you talked about it's based off of what, for some people can get single wheels or dualies or whatever like this. Let's say Brian came to you and he said, hey, I have this F-250. I don't have my CDLs right now, okay? I plan on getting them sometime soon, but right now the pandemic is going on. I don't have the money to do that. But I want to get out there because this is something I want to do. You know what I'm saying? Those are the things that, we want to get people into these steps. Now I got it. Some of the people that's listening on your channel and stuff like that, they're probably more advanced or whatever. And but at the same time, some of this information they can take it and give it to somebody, because there's somebody coming into business every day. I see it all the time. A lot of things people don't understand in this scenario. If you're going CDL versus non-CDL, let's say somebody's going, they say, okay, I'm gonna start my company. I don't have my CDLs yet, so I'm gonna get this 450. I'm gonna do it big, and I got my company, and I'm gonna get my insurance. Well, if you don't have somebody that has CDLs, your insurance is gonna be up here. You know what I'm saying? You start your company, get your insurance, it's gonna be up here. And they're not gonna tell you that, but people don't understand that. But if you get somebody who has CDLs and they got a claim, even if they have CDL, they have something. It's probably a lot cheaper than it would be if you didn't have one. You know what I'm saying? These are the things that people need to know. These are things that people who even have companies now, they don't know, because somebody started their company for them. So they don't understand how it is. You know what I'm saying?
Correct.
And so that's the thing that here on this platform we want to get out. And also I want to let everybody know, if you can write this number down, we're gonna say it a couple of times. It's area code 832-779-6068. That's 832-779-6068. And what you can do, you can call in at any time. We're live right now on, you're probably not hearing it correctly, probably on either one of the, what thing we have right here?
Instagram,
the IG. You're probably not hearing it the way we're putting it out on the mic, but because one is connected straight to the Facebook, the YouTube live right now, and everything, the interfaces, the microphones are going to that system. So if you want to get there, you can just go to 5iveCast YouTube channel, and you can click that, and you can be there as well. But what we want you to do is we want you to call in. Honestly, we want you to call and ask anything, and you'll be heard, you'll hear yourself and everything. So so we can kind of get some things going. I want it really to be for my guests that come on the show. That's what the show is about. It's for people to ask people the experience, because I'm gonna have mad guests up here who are like the experts for the SMEs in what they do. And I really consider Renee a SME in this game right here, especially when it comes to hotshot. I know I've gotten a lot of advice from you. I've asked questions. I've watched. If I needed something, even before I even kind of really got out there. I was watching and following and stuff like that. Us meeting, it was us meeting face by face was by, something that happened, but we had already formed a relationship at that time. You know what I'm saying? So the brand new guy gets his F-250. What's some recommendations you have for him?
And you said it was a 450, so he's already...
250. I'm sorry, 250.
Okay, 250.
He got two. So I'm gonna start with a non-CDL guy. He's a 250. I was just throwing it in as an example. I'm sorry.
Okay, because the 450 is going to be a little bit heavier. It's going to be limited on the weight on the trailer, but an F-250, then because of the weight of the truck, you can get you a nice 34-foot, even a 40-foot flatbed, and keep the weight. The weight will be between the truck and trailer. You're looking at, about 12,000 pounds.
Okay.
And so then he's able to put almost almost 14,000 on the trailer.
Okay.
So that'll keep them under 26,001 pounds. And so, and the thing that people need to understand also is CDL or non-CDL, across the board, it's the same regulations as far as your insurance. I think the only thing that a non-CDL guy doesn't have to do is the drug consortium and the IFTA.
Right.
I think those are the only two things. Otherwise, it's the same thing all the way across the board. And once he's doing the non-CDL stuff and he starts making the money, then he can, get the experience under his belt as far as all the weight distribution and securement and all that. And then he can work his way and do the dueling. Okay. And get, work on getting a CDL, and then sky's the limit at that point.
Right. Okay. All right. So then let's move on up to the got a 350. I got my CDL. I'm ready to start, man. I'm just going to haul the world. That's what I'm going to do right now. So
then at that point, when you were doing your non-CDL and going to a CDL, either you had either set yourself up with a dispatcher or you're dispatching yourself. So there's load boards that a guy can download and start looking for his own loads if he's not using a dispatcher.
Okay, so let's talk about dispatchers now. So over the years, well, you know what, not over the years, because you started up Northern Crosswind.
Almost 3 years ago.
Okay, so you started up at that point. Did you use a dispatcher? Did you come out the gate using dispatcher?
I did.
Okay, tell me about the experiences.
It's going to be hit and miss. There's a lot of young blood out there that are good on the computer and wanting to get in on this, but even those guys are struggling on the trucking aspect of it. A lot of dispatchers will tell a guy to get a 100-gallon, as an example, get a 100-gallon auxiliary fuel tank.
Okay.
Because by doing that, their way of thinking, that's an extra 2 loads a week, not having to stop to get fuel.
Right.
But the thing that they're not putting in consideration is that 100-gallon auxiliary fuel tank and your stock fuel tank. Now you got 1,000 pounds of fuel on that you're carrying, so that's 1,000 pounds less cargo you can put onto your trailer.
Okay.
So they're looking at it as 2 extra loads, but yet you're going to end up losing the load because you already weigh too much.
Right.
And so, and a guy doing this, speaking from experience, I've had a blood clot, and that's because I was driving 800-900 miles in a day. So a guy needs to get out and stretch his legs. So every 300-400 miles, get something to drink, stretch your legs, get some fuel, so right. I have a 40-gallon auxiliary fuel tank. That way, I'm having to stop and get fuel instead of trying to, go that extra 1 or 2 loads a week with 100-gallon. And like I said, and whenever I point that out to some of these dispatchers, some of these other drivers are like, I never even thought of that. That's they're not semis to where they can, have dual 150-gallon tanks on a semi. So having 100-gallon, that's 1,000 pounds of less cargo you can haul.
Right. Okay. So you're doing standard loads, regular loads. At what point did you say, okay, I know you did this in Alaska. What point did you start picking up doing oversized and overdimensional loads?
Oh, I started out doing oversized loads when I got my CDL 26 years ago. So it's something that I've always been comfortable with because that's what I started out doing. Okay. So doing it in a hotshot. So yeah, the last load I did was 16 wide. Picked it up from Missouri and took it all the way up to Vermont, just the border of Manitoba, Canada. Okay. So 1,800 miles with 16 wide. I had two escorts, front and rear escorts, and two police escorts also.
So these are the things that people need to know, though. They need to understand that as far as they're going to need escorts. Some cities and some states require for to be police escorts, for certain things. And you know what? It was so funny. I remember you had a load you were going and you was up toward West Virginia, somewhere like that, but you couldn't go on the weekends. And you was just right at the line.
Yeah.
Talk to us about that right there. That was funny.
So I have a permit company on retainer that I use to get my permits. And I was crossing 5-6 state lines. Right. So, I thumbed through the permits just to visually look them over. Okay. But it wasn't until I was in Kentucky going into West Virginia that night, and I stopped at a Petro, and I decided I'm going to have supper, and I'm mingling with the guys, and at that point, that's when I decided to read my permit, and I had already booked a hotel in West Virginia. And when I read my permit, it was no nighttime travel, no weekend travel. Right. And so the hotel reservation that I made in West Virginia, I had to cancel. Well, they wouldn't even cancel it because And so then I had to make a reservation in Kentucky just for the weekend, and then I couldn't leave until daybreak. And I had 80 miles to go. And that 80 miles took me over 4.5 hours just because it was back roads. Right. And I was only 10 wide, but I was pretty heavy. I was, over 46,000 pounds, but through banjo country up and down. And I'm the width of the road that, so I got there right at almost noon o'clock to deliver that load, taking 80 miles. That's why I had dinner thinking, oh, I'd be there in less than 2 hours. No, it took over 4 hours to, and I did that in the daylight hours. So I'm glad I didn't try to do it at nighttime because it's just that's when you start getting yourself in trouble when you are a little heavier or overweight and trying to gamble and do it at night because like I said, that took over 4 hours to get through the mountains there in West Virginia.
Okay, so now let's talk about money. That's what we're going to talk about for a few minutes. Because some people think for some reason that in this industry that maybe taking hotshot loads, you don't really make money like you make with the big rigs, But I've proven to people and shown them that there are loads that are 11,000, 13,000, 12,000. You know what I'm saying? Or just a load. You know what I'm saying? Or a trip. But it's just really about knowing how to maneuver and look at the load boards. And some of the gems we're going to give out also is that people don't understand this right here. The load board is fine. You know what I'm saying? And people say, oh, you can't make any money off a load board, but people don't understand. Once you pull for companies and these companies and brokers, they have internal load boards and they give you access to these load boards. And in a lot of cases, once you pull maybe I'm gonna say about 5 or 6 times, these companies will call you directly, so you won't even have to look at the load board anymore, pretty much. And people get so, oh man, I got this load board and I'm paying $250 a month. I've been looking at people like crazy. Like, what?
Yeah.
I ain't never. No, I get the next to the bottom package, and I have one load board. That's it. I have one load board, but luckily, now I have relationships. With different brokers, and so and that has they kind of let me know the game. Like, hey, you don't have to be doing all this right here. We have load boards, and all the other people got load boards too. So once you pull somebody, say, hey, send me a load board or access to it, or send me emails.
Once you become a preferred carrier, like through Landstar, TQL, CR England, you can use their load boards, and there's a lot of dispatchers that don't even know that or realize that.
No, they don't, because what's happening is I think there's these what I call it pool dispatch teaching courses that out here, and I don't really know the teaching honestly, but they're making money and I'm not here to bash into that. They do what they do. You know what I'm saying? But once people really see what's into it, they'll understand like, oh man, it's really relationship building. You know what I'm saying? And so my thing with dispatching is this right here. I have this thing, me. I'm like, I want my company to be number one, period. And probably the reason why I don't use dispatchers is because I don't feel nobody can make me number one. If they're waking up and they're looking for, if they have, and I see it, I watch the Instagram, they say, yeah, they're taking dispatch course. They say, oh yeah, I just got 8 new carriers under me and I made $3,000 this week, and I'm sitting here like, okay, if you got that many carriers, who was first? You feel what I'm saying?
Yep.
No offense, and I love Northern Cross and I love everybody else, but that morning or that evening, I want G5 to get the load. At the end of the day, you know what I'm saying? And we all do. And so there's no way nobody can cater to me for me to be first in a list of 15. It's not possible.
See, so what you just said, let me dovetail off that. When I was in Alaska coming out here, and I started following a lot of these hotshots on Instagram, I reached out to a lot of guys.
Okay.
And asked them, who are you using as a dispatcher? Because when I was out here running the big road and I had rag trucking, which my big truck, I was leased to an outfit. Okay. And so I made 90% of what the load paid. They charged me 10%. But
they controlled your truck.
So I was leased to them and I can only pull for them. So they kept me running. They did my IFTA, they did all that.
Right.
And so I didn't have to find a load. So these other hotshots that were on Instagram, I would ask them who their dispatcher was, and nobody wanted to divulge that because of what you just said.
And that's the reason why.
Because they want to get the good paying load. So if they tell me who their dispatcher is, then they're gonna worry that Well,
Somebody's
NCT's
somebody's
gonna
gonna
get
drop.
the load and not me.
Right,
So nobody wanted to offer who their dispatchers were.
right,
And so when I came out here, you know, because of the style of truck that I had and the setup that I had,
Okay.
you know, the truck being air ride, 16 ply tires,
mhm,
you know, my shocker, air ride trailer, and I'm 44 long. A lot of dispatchers were soliciting their services to me.
right,
And so that's how I got started with the dispatcher, because I had somebody call me,
right,
because nobody wanted to tell me who they were using, because they didn't want me to take away from their pie.
right.
And so
And we know it's really, so you spoke on something which was key. You get started, and you know, really it's all about investing in equipment. You know what I'm saying? Maintenance, investing in equipment, buying things like the shocker. You know what I'm saying? If you can get a trailer with air ride, or you can get air ride put on your trailer, you know what I'm saying? Get it on your truck. And the reason why, because some of these things with certain loads, they require that. So what it's gonna really do is gonna bump you up, you know what I'm saying, in who the dispatcher or who the broker, you know, seeks out, because they already know, okay, hey, this guy or this gal, they have this particular type of setup. So we already know they're ready to go. And that's one less question that they have to ask when they talk to you before they send the rate card.
and when you're using load boards, they'll in the bottom of the comments, you scroll through them and they'll say on there no hotshot.
Right,
And I'll still call that because of the weights, and when it paid, I still call and pay the dump card. And as they answer the phone, I'm like, oh, okay, I see you down here in the car. It says no hotshot. I said, but I got you on the phone now. How come no hotshot?
Right.
And they'll end up telling me, well, we need air ride.
right,
And so then it's like, oh, well,
right,
I'm air ride. Oh, you are. And they're like, oh, we don't know any hot shots that are. That's why we put on there no hot shots. So
right.
it could be they put on there no hot shots because of the air ride,
Mhm.
or it's because of the dock that they're going to load you on is a flatbed height.
Right,
And you know, and the forklift will come out to the parking lot and load you. So you know, it's something you have to negotiate with the broker. And I've had it to where there was a $50 fee to drive out to the parking lot to load you too. So, you know, you can still call even though it says no hot shot, and just ask them why, you know, and if you have the air ride and things like that, then, you know, negotiate that and talk to them about it.
now another thing we'll say to you, and people will see that no hot shots on there. And sometimes you gotta understand with some brokers, it's because of something that happened, transpired between that particular broker agent and a hot shot before. So their thing is just like, you know what? I'm not gonna put it out there for a hot shot. But if you call them, and I tell people strongly, if it says no hot shot, call them anyway. Because I'm telling you, because I have to say at least 95% of the time that it said that, I got the load, you know. And it's all about relationships, branding of your company, you know what I'm saying, and the respect that people probably give your company based off of what you do. And if you have that conversation with them, you know, a lot of times they're gonna go ahead and give you the load. You know, and that's the thing I do. And people have to be aware of that. Branding, I say it all, you know, that's my favorite thing. Branding, branding, branding. You know what I'm saying? Protect your brand,
Yeah.
you know, and make it stand up the way it's supposed to stand up. And people will give you loads that other people probably wouldn't give anybody, right? Okay, so
Something I always say a lot of times is what makes you different makes you money.
ooh, all day, all day. And Lord knows we're different, right?
Yeah.
We some different people. And it's probably because willing to go and willing to do things, you know, saying, and get out there. Some people, you know, they want to cherry pick and choose. I don't want to do that. Or, you know, we were talking about earlier about, you know, people messing rates up because, you know, and I know people have to do what they got to do. So I will never tell somebody don't take something because they know their situation. You know what I'm saying? But I just want people to be aware that when you do take those loads for lesser money, what happens is you really hurt yourself, because what you don't know, or if you do know it, every time you pull for a broker, of course they log that, and they have to keep notes, so they keep minutes. That's what happens. So every time you book a load, you get a rate con. They input it and it's in their system for the company. You know what I'm saying? It's your MC number, your DOT number, what you took, the weight of it, and how much you took it for. So when they ask you, when you call in the broker and they're asking you for your numbers, they're looking you up in Safer, of course, to make sure everything is good. But at the same time, it's pulling you up in their system, and they're going to see every load that you ever pulled for them, and they're going to show the out rate. You know what I'm saying? What the broker was actually getting for the load. what that split was in their commission, you know what I'm saying, and what they actually paid you. So that right there, you're giving them the negotiations for your company at that time. So you really can screw yourself, because if you want to keep taking all this low freight for nothing, then the next thing you know, every time you call, you're gonna wonder why you're only getting this amount of money for loads, and you're gonna talk to somebody else and they're saying, "Oh man, I get this for it. I can show you the rate kind of proof."
Every load that's posted in the load board, it's all negotiable. Everyone.
So don't get caught up in, "Oh, the offer is this," and they tell you, "Oh man, it's all I got into it." That's what they're going to say.
Yeah.
Okay, don't go for that. And I'm telling you, don't go for it. You know what I'm saying? They have a job. If the broker is telling that broker agent, "Hey, what's really paying on this load is 1,700. I need you to try to get them to pull this load for 700. Okay, and then we're gonna give you the buffer zone of 7 to 1,000. You know what I'm saying? So you can go up to 1,000, but the more you go up, you're gonna lose your commission off of it, because you got to bring back the company X amount. You know, so that's the give and go on the brokerage side of it.
Well, and part of that is, the broker is a salesman. He's going to go out and he's going to solicit customers.
Right.
So the shippers. And so he makes a friend with the shipper, and the shipper says, okay, as an example, let's just say that that shipper says, I got 10 loads, that need to go out this month, and I got $100,000 to pay to get those loads out there.
Right.
So that broker knows that he's got $100,000 to play with to get those loads out. So if he does one load, and depending on the distance as well too, so it's, one might pay $3,000, $4,000, where another's only going to pay $1,000.
Right.
But if he's able to move that $1,000 load for 800 instead of 1,000, now he's got $200 that he can play with on the next load.
Right.
And he'll still post it for 800 or 1,000, and when you call and you get 1,200 for it, because he already had a cushion for that extra $200.
Right.
So that's why I say every load's negotiable, even though they're going to tell you, hey, I only make $200 on this. Well, you might have on the last load, but you had some extra,
Right.
And so I mean, almost every load that I call on, I'll get $300 or $400 more than what it's posted for.
Right.
And there's been times where I've gotten almost $1,000 more for a load.
Then posted.
Than what it was posted
right.
for, And something else that guys need to, when you first get into the industry, your MC number will dictate your age.
Right.
So, and it doesn't matter if you're in Oklahoma, Texas, Hawaii, Alaska, wherever you're from. When you call and apply for your MC number and your USDOT number, it's the next number off the top. And so when you call a broker and you give them your 303 number, they know that you're new at the game. And some of these guys, you have to be 30, 60, 90 days, 6 months to a year old before they can use you. And, when I call and they ask me for my number, 1033-968. So, I mean, they can tell right then and there that, my number's aged and it's 19 years old. And so DBA rag trucking. So, they're going to know right out the gate. And also, one of the other things that I get a lot of hotshot guys that'll call me and tell me, and I get inspected all the time.
Right.
Not just at the scale, in between the scales. They're getting pulled over on the side of the road, getting inspections. So one of the things that, like I just said earlier, what makes you different makes you money. So some of these guys, and to each his own. I mean, I get it. Everybody's baby steps. You got to start out. Some guys will put the decals on their window. Some will buy magnets, put them on their truck, because they're coming home, after 2 or 3 weeks of running, and then it's their everyday runner.
Their vehicle,
yeah, it's their everyday runner, and they take the magnets off or whatnot. But what happens when you do that? When I came down here from Alaska and I started seeing the information on a window or the magnets, I just assumed that, guys, when they got home, were going to the bar, they're going to the titty bar, they just don't want to advertise their company, so they roll down the window, take the magnets off.
Right.
But what it's come down to is you get some of these Mexican guys out of the border, out of Mexico,
all right.
and they're putting the magnets and the vinyl stickers on the window, and so and they refer to it as outlawing. So when they know there's a scale coming up, they'll roll down the window.
Right.
or they pull the magnets off.
Right.
And so they roll right by the scale and pretend that the cargo that's on the trailer belongs to them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why when you're away from a scale and you got your decals, whether it's a magnet or on the window, they're pulling those guys over
Right.
and inspecting them to check to see if they had bypassed the scale earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So like my truck, it looks like a billboard.
Right.
So in 3 years, I've gone into the scale 2 times.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that is when people ask me, you got pre-pass? No, I don't. I don't have pre-pass. When you roll into the scale and they'll tell you, 5 miles an hour, 35 miles an hour, there's cameras on the on-ramp as you're coming into the scale, and they check your USDOT numbers.
Right. That's why I won't be able to see it. Yes.
Yeah. So they check your USDOT numbers, and if everything comes in good, no tickets, no accidents, no violations, they green light you and you take the left lane, the empty lane, even though you're loaded.
Right.
And so I'm always able to take the left lane just because, when I've had the level 1. So every time you get a level 1, level 2, level 3 inspection, that increases your score with Federal Motor Carrier Association. So your score goes up. And when you have a high score like that and you pull into a scale, they're going to give you a bypass.
Right.
So if you fell one of those or you've been put out of service, when you roll into a scale and that shows up in the system, they're going to pull you over and ask you to see your paperwork, see your documentation and your logbook and so forth. But if you pass those 9 out of 10 times, you're going to get the left lane.
Right. And that's a key thing right there, violations and things of such, and this is what something I kind of put out to, my guys and people who are getting to the game. I tell them, I say, listen, man, it's too easy if you really just go get the answers to the test, right? One of the things I did, and I'm really advocating this right here. I'm probably crazy, but I'm the guy that goes to the DOT office. I'm the guy that goes to the scale when it's empty, and I pull up over there, and I go talk. I get out and I say, "Hey, can I talk to you for a minute?" And I have a conversation with them, and everything is communication, right? So me learning to do this, and I've done this in almost every state I've been to. I've done this. And it's just so I wanted to understand like how the DOT is behaving in certain states and the different things. And I've heard different things in every state, honestly, or even the weightmaster, especially in Florida. That's a big one. One night I went to Florida, going to Orlando, and it was late. It was like 2:00 in the morning. So the guy had green lighted me, but I looped on around anyway and parked. And he was looking like I was crazy. And he was there by himself. I said, "Hey man, you right here by yourself." I said, "Do you mind educating me?" I said, "I can't deliver my load until this time right here." I said, "Do you mind if I ask you some questions?" Man, that dude came out and he was giving me all kinds of stuff. And I was asking him, I said, "Okay, what are the issues that you see, especially in the hotshot community?" He said, "Well, you know what? This is the reason why we stopped the guys." He said, "Because a lot of the guys we're seeing, they run their equipment ragged. They don't keep any documentation. You do a level 1 on them, they're like clueless, like they just got in the truck yesterday. So long story short, I took all that data and I said, you know what, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna get the step by step what the level 1 is, and every guy or gal that works for me, when they come in and train them, I train them to the level 1. You see what I'm saying? So I say, hey, you do a level 1 inspection before you take off. You know what I'm saying? So if that is in their head, right, they're already gonna know when they come. They're gonna have the binder. It's gonna be tabbed out. It's all psychology too, right? So you got the binder and there's tabs. So when I say, hey, they stop you, just have your book there, have it open so they can see the tabs because they're gonna read it. They're gonna sit there and look at it. And they're like, let me see that book. See the book and they go through it. They're like, what? Let me see your log for a second. You see your log? It's a wrap. You're done. It won't bother you. You know what I'm saying? And then all the procedures for the level 1. They already know that. Well, hey, you kind of own it. And you can tell them like, no, this is what we do every day for pre-trip. You know what I'm saying? This is what we do. So this way, they report that. So these guys, these DOT officers, they go back in and they have these conversations. You know what I'm saying? At their roll call, excuse me, at their formations. Hey man, I just stopped Northern Cross and the dude had the book and or his guys had a book and And I talked to him about level 1, and the jokers knew everything to do. You know what I'm saying? Nothing was wrong. And they passed that word. You know what I'm saying? They gossip just like we do. You know what I'm saying? And so when they see your truck, because it's, your truck or whoever's truck was decaled up, they already know, okay, hey, we see the numbers, they good, hey, let them go. And you don't have those issues at all, And so really the training, I know Pro Hall TV, he has a great training program, you know what I'm saying? And that's something that he does. He teaches like from A to Z. And I have not heard one person that went through his training, and he does hot shots and 18 wheelers, you know what I'm saying? And he started off with hot shots and learning from himself, and then he got into 18 wheelers and he's doing big things. But I think it's because of his training program, because he's training to the DOT standard and he's asking questions. You know what I'm saying? So it allows his guys to maneuver throughout the United States with no issues at all. So I really think if advice to people that's getting into this game is like, if you really do it from that standpoint, you're going to be very successful.
Well, and like I mentioned earlier, I've gone into the scale 2 times in the last 3 years. And both those times was because I was over 40,000 pounds.
Okay.
And there's not too many hot shots that are apportioned for over 40. So he had me pull in and show him my cab card. And once he saw I was approved for 46, he's like, okay, you're good, And next thing you know, I'm still there for an hour later because we're just BSing and
Right.
I'm exchanging business cards and so forth. And did the same thing that you were talking about. I asked him, what are you seeing out here? And the fact that the hotshot industry is a new industry,
mm-hmm.
and some of them guys don't know what to look for, what to do with hotshots, because they're for 30 years they've been doing semis.
Right.
They know the axle spread. They know how much 12, 34, 34. 80,000 pounds. With the hotshot and everybody being apportioned differently, they don't know what the weights need to be. Where my truck, it's 6,000 for the steer axles, 14 for the drives, and 13,000 for each tandem on my trailer. So that's for 46,000. And so everybody's a little different because not everybody's apportioned the same. So in some states like Florida, some of those guys don't know how to regulate us, and some of the things that they're doing in some of those states are looking at tire ply.
Okay.
So when they don't know how much weight needs to be on that axle, they're looking at if the tire's even rated for the weight at the time that they cross the scale.
Okay.
So that's something else that some of the DOT officers are doing, is looking at tire ply. And that's why I run 16 ply. I'm never going to exceed the weight of what my tires are rated at, 6,900 pounds per tire. So I'm never going to get that kind of weight on my axle, on my drive axle, my dually. So, just know the industry, ask all the questions, talk to a DOT officer, anybody that I help and I mentor, and they're getting their truck together and fuel tank and decals. The thing that I always tell them is once they finally buy their trailer, get their trailer hooked onto the trailer, go down to the scale and get a level 1 inspection.
That's it.
I said, go down there. That way you're in your hometown. If something comes up on the computer, you can nip it right there before you're actually under a load and you're 4 states away, and if you need to go to the DMV to correct something, you're able to do it, before you even get under a load. And when you go into a scale house like that and you're asking them to give you a level 1 inspection, they're going to respect you more just because you're requesting it. And at that time, you're making a friend with the officer. You're going to establish a relationship. So therefore, when you are out there and there is a question and you can't get a hold of NCT or somebody that that's helped you walk you through this, you can call that DOT the weight master and ask them, hey, I'm going to go pick up this load, and what's legal, how many feet am I allowed to hang over the back end of my trailer, just so that do I need to get a overlink permit or what's going on. And so I always tell everybody, before you hit the road, go and get a level 1 inspection.
Gotta have it.
Get the sticker.
Become
a friend.
Go ahead, and that's the thing about it. And you feel a little confident too. You know what I'm saying? It makes you feel good. And as you continue to expand and you get more trucks and you get more drivers, you know what I'm saying, you'll be able to communicate that process to them.
Yeah, and you feel better because you're taking it to them. They're not making you.
Right.
They're not giving you the red light and
Right.
telling you to turn around and come
Right.
in, bring in your paperwork, and now your heart's racing and you're sweating because you don't know what they're going to ask because you're nervous.
Right.
So when you go in on your own recognizance and it's like, hey, help me out here, educate me, walk me through it. What do I need to provide to satisfy level 1? So if I get one in Tennessee, I know what I need to do.
Right.
And so, and that way, when you do get pulled over, you're calm, you're relaxed. Just like I was nervous here an hour ago.
I know we have some great people that called in. We called in and everything. In fact, I got a call here. Let me. I had to push him back for a second, but he left his number, and so let's get him on the line here. Let's see here. All right, let's see what we got out here. Hey, this is Mr. Sapp. Hey, what's going on? What's going on, Miss Sally? This is OG5 and NCT here. This is everybody. This is old Big Sap Dog from old Super Sap Logistics out here. He's out of Texas, but he's rolling up there in the north. Where you at, Big Sap? What we got?
Okay, this ain't Big Sap.
Is it?
Yeah, we made it out.
Uh-huh. Oh, okay. Hey, well, tell me this right here. What was it like? Like, how long have you started? Okay. Mm-hmm. So tell me this right here. What were some of the things that you were worried about? Because we're talking from a business perspective. Starting out, you had the truck already. Like, what were some of your concerns that you had that could have possibly stopped you from pulling that trigger? Uh, right.
Well, let me jump in real quick. I know we talked about earlier, don't move cheap freight. When guys that I help and mentor and get started, I tell them you can't be picky at first because you got to get your MC number out there circulated, the 30, 60, 90 day, the 6 months. And so if you do get a load that pays, $1.50 a mile, you need to take it. And that's just because some of these brokers, when you do start out, they're going to want 3 references. And at this point, that $1.50 a mile is going to be a reference at some point to satisfy the next broker. So into you've been out there the 30, 60, 96 months, a year, then you're going to be getting those $2 mile loads. But at first, I know a lot of guys, I ain't moving nothing for $2. Well, you can't do that when you're starting out because you're new, and that $2 load, you get it, and then they look you up, and the next thing you know it, they send you the carrier packet, and they're like, oh, sorry, we can't use you because you're only 6 months old. And so now you've lost that load, and you passed up the $1.50 that you could have done. So you might as well, just start out taking what you can just to get your feet wet so that you get that MC number matured. So, it's just once you're out there and you've been out there a while, you'll start seeing those, what you've always wanted, the $2 plus a mile runs,
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Renee. And we have had some conversations, in the past and stuff, and each and every day, I can tell someone that you will, when you starting out, you will learn something new every day about the industry. The only way you can really, really learn about it is by just the feet first and get your feet wet, to get some hands on, see how things operate. And once you get out here, you start to learn what works for you, what don't work for you, don't. And I tell people that be asking me about the industry, I tell them, start doing your research a lot. Start trying, start going YouTube. I tell them, because first thing someone said to me, man, I want to start driving football in the truck. And I learned by talking to you guys, and some of the stuff you said, Renee, and Steve, and even Pro Hall said, things like, you can ruin your company if you automatically think about wanting to put somebody in the truck. So I tell you guys that, man, I used to think the same way, but once you out here hitting ground, a piece of block up and stuff, you realize that if your focus is try to get out here and just try to put somebody in the truck, and they don't have experience, or they end up having an accident, they can ruin your whole company before you got started with it, So that's some of the things that I tell some of these guys that they ask me about, And even for myself,
absolutely. Yeah, the gooseneck, you're looking at about a 4 foot to 4.5 foot offset versus a tow behind bumper pull or a semi. They're gonna track right with you, but a gooseneck has that 4 foot, 4.5 foot offset. So it handles a whole lot different. And come nighttime and you're making that right hand turn, you want to make sure you keep an eye on that mailbox or that fire hydrant, and you swing wide so that it's not ruining your night when you're just trying to shut down 2 miles down the road, and you're making that right hand turn a little tight. So, and the only person that's going to take care of your equipment is you, and you gotta vet out those drivers that are going to drive your truck, and you're right, when you have that MC number, your own authority, that number belongs to you, and you don't want any blemishes, and when you do get a blemish on there, that's when you get a bullseye on your back, and you pull into the scales. They're going to be pulling you in there each time and looking through your paperwork just to make sure that everything is copacetic, So, and the only person that's going to pay close attention to that is you, the owner. Drivers, well, I'm learning, and guys that are coming out here, sometimes I tell them, if you want to know how to do this, I'm not discouraging you by any means, but if you want to learn the whole trucking aspect of it, go drive for Swift, and let them train you, get the experience under your belt, because if you do screw up, it's under their MC number, not yours. And do that for a year or so, and then come out here, and now you know a lot more, and you can do it confidently and everything else. But if you have the drive and the initiative, and you got something in your background, I mean, you're going to be able to figure it out and put it all together. There's a lot of you military guys, that did stuff like this in a service, so you have something, some knowledge of it. So it won't be as much of a struggle as it is to some guys that, went from the drive-through McDonald's window and now they're wanting to get into hotshot, and so there's a lot involved,
Right.
Well, when you say written manuals, and you're right, there really isn't. The manuals that are out there are for semis. The manufacturer of the trailer has their own, specifications on how to do it, but then every truck's different, whether it's a dually, 10 ply, 16 ply, single rear wheel. I mean, every truck's going to be different from the truck that's going to be pulling that trailer. Where semis, they're all pretty much, they're all Class 8 trucks. They're set up to pull a flatbed, or a reefer, dry van. And now if you get into RGNs, well, a heavy haul, well, that's a whole different breed of trucks and different, trucking, But no, the hotshot is new. There's a lot of specifications that aren't out there, and that's all I'm trying to do is help some of these guys to, prevent from getting into a situation or, getting into an accident or being red tagged or being put out of service because of DOT, because the load wasn't secured properly, or they're not going to nail you for weight distribution because they don't even know. But you're going to know when it comes, when you're coming down a hill and you need to slow it down and you got no steering control, and so when I see it, some guys take constructive criticism and some don't. I've been doing it for 7 years, and so anyhow, and the answer to that, that I always tell somebody is, a skill ticket don't lie, numbers don't lie. If you don't understand what I'm saying, go get your tare weight, go get loaded and get another tare weight and see how much you've actually taken off your steers when you put the load weight back there. Because when you're doing a wheelie, you're actually removing weight off your steers instead of adding weight. And so, numbers don't lie. If you don't believe what I'm saying, go get a scale ticket. And I learned the hard way, because trucking in Alaska and through Canada, when the scales in Canada are closed, the numbers are still there. And so I pulled onto a scale in Canada many a times, and I had a piece of equipment, and instead of getting off the scale and adjusting the weight to getting back onto the scale, since there was nobody around, I stayed on the scale and moved my tractor forward or back a foot or 6 inches, and I can see what it was doing with the weight on the steers, the drives, and the trailer. So knowing that, I know how to adjust for weight, on a hotshot, and one of the examples that I always tell guys, I mean, if you've ever been to the tractor pulls and you've seen a pickup truck that's going to pull that sled behind them, they have lead weights on the front bumper of that pickup truck. And when that truck goes to take off, it's doing a wheelie, even with the weights on the front bumper. And as that sled weight comes forward, the front end of that truck drops, the drive tires dig into the ground. That's as far as he's going. And that's because that weight was moved forward. So you need to put 60% of the weight that you're putting on the trailer, it needs to be behind that gooseneck, not on the trailer tandems. And when you were a young kid, Dad always said, put the weight over the axles. Well, yeah, that applies for a 5x10 or 5x8 U-Haul. But when you own 40 foot of real estate, you need to put that weight in front of those tandems, not on it or behind it. You need to put it in front of it. And then therefore you're going to put weight on your steer tires. and a lot of guys don't get that. And I've seen guys with skid steers, with that skid steer on the tandems on the trailer, and I go to tell him, he's like, dude, that's 7,000 pounds. I don't want to put that behind the gooseneck, but you need to put the weight on the steers.
So let me ask you this right here, Big Sap. What are some things that you've seen since you've been out there? I mean, you've been out there since August. So it's January. I mean, you started your company in dead center of the pandemic. Like most people will say there's something wrong with you. Like what made you think that you can get out here and make some things happen?
Let me see the notepad. Notepad. You say you don't like what? Right. And we see you doing that stuff. You know what I'm saying? And I say this because a lot of people coming out this year, or they're sitting there saying, like, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't come out. I'm scared. Oh, we got posted. It got posted. Right. Go ahead. Right. Mm-hmm. Mm. Okay, all right. Well, shoot, man. Hey, I appreciate your input, Seth. You know, be careful out there, man. I know it's good and cold.
And I'm sure you about to run into some snow here in a second, right?
Yeah, so right now, I think the temperature right now is about 29 degrees. So,
Right.
Hey, your truck's four-wheel drive, isn't it? Yeah, if you haven't already, put that thing in four-wheel drive in the wintertime. Excuse me?
In Roger, that's more Army stuff. So, see, he get, you know what I'm saying? He got a flashback. Don't have no flashback, man. PTSD is acting up on you, there, Sam. Can't be doing that stuff. Hey, we appreciate you, man. Hey, be safe, man, while you're out there, man. I know we'll probably see you in about a month or so. But hey, do what you do, man. Make that money. I appreciate
Good talking to you.
Yeah, see, it's good hearing those guys and gals that's out there right now, man, who are in the trenches. You know what I'm saying? And especially just getting out here last year. I saw we had First Choice hit you up a minute ago on the live. Hey, how we doing? It's First Choice. Okay. Hey, check this out. We saw you call in on live a minute ago. We just what are some things that you're experiencing out there while you've been out there? How long you been on the road now? You're 6 months? Okay. Okay. So what's that experience been like for you? Somebody coming out here new into this right here, brand new to the game. What are some things that you I think something playing in the background is kind of loud. There's something in the background playing loud. I hear you, but it's picking up. Okay. Oh, was on Bluetooth? No, I think the Bluetooth is picking up all the background.
There you go.
Hello, there you go. Well, hello. Hello. Okay. Hello. You good now?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we got you. We got you. Okay. Hey, no. Hey, can you tell us what's how things have been for you? You know, since you started out. Hey, hey, Lee. We're gonna reconnect. We're gonna see what happens because it's like you're talking in a cup or something. we're coming back in a minute. I think it's 719. So just really looking at the business of hotshot, looking at the industry. What do you think the industry is going right now?
It's strong. There's lots of freight out there, and
but I'm hearing people say there's no freight though.
yeah.
I mean, I'm hearing it every day. There's no freight. There's no freight.
Yeah. Well, it might be where they're located, where they're at, but there's freight out there, and the rates aren't bad at all.
Mm-hmm.
The rates are going up, and it's only going to get a little bit better.
Right.
So, but no, just hang in there. Look at your load boards and careful where you go. I don't take myself to Colorado. I don't go to Arizona. I don't go to Oregon. There's just some of these states that you want to stay out of because
right.
If it pays well to go there, it's for a reason because you're going to end up having a deadhead quite a bit to get out of there.
It definitely pays for a reason.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. People get into this game. The one thing you have to look at, people may have a great paying load, right? You may think it's great paying, but look at where the destination is and see what's coming out of there and what generally comes out of there. Look in the previous 24 hours to see what came out of there and look at the next, 24 to 48 hours to see what's going to be coming out of there because sometimes they'll be setting you up into a trap. You think it's paying good, but it's really not paying good.
So yeah, if that load pays $4 a mile, it's for a reason. So
right.
and if you know the area that it's going to, then you got some negotiation room when you go to talk to that broker. And that, let's just say that load pays $2,000 and it's going to New Mexico. Ask him for $2,500, and he's going to ask you why. Say, well, because I'm going to end up having a deadhead 300 miles to get out there and get the next load. So, I'm just covering my fuel expenses, and I'm going to lose a day doing that. So
Right.
I want $500 more if you want me to move it. And when you speak that way, he's going to know that, he's not going to pull the wool over your eyes. And at that point, he's going to say yes or no. But more than likely, he's going to end up doing it because,
Right.
he's not going to wait around for the next guy, because people that know aren't even going to take it.
True.
So if you're negotiating right there, left, delete it. I'm not even going to waste my time unless I'm trying to get somewhere, and I'm using it as a stepping stone.
Okay, we got a call coming in. This 5iveCast, who we got? I guess we lost him. No, okay. Oh, go ahead, keep your thought. I'm sorry.
Not a technology here. I'm glad I'm the guest.
Hey, it answers for me. That's what it was. It answered for me, and then screens the calls. That's what it does. Hey, Ms. Lee. Okay, you sound a lot better now. You sound a lot better now. I don't know what you did, but you sound a lot better. Okay. I'm sorry. I do apologize. Listen, we try to make money or help people make money no matter what day it is. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so let's talk about it, man. So tell me about your experience. What coming out the gate, what was your experience? Right. Right. Okay. Right. But I mean, it's good money out there, and that's the thing people have to think about as well. So when they do come out, they see those rate cons coming in, man. I'm telling you, it can get to be beautiful. You'll grab a load, you get $1,300, and this delivers the next day. You catch another load for about $2,500. It delivers in a day and a half. You catch one slip up, two slip ups. You know what I'm saying, with some partials. Now you got 3,000 on the back of the truck, and it delivers on Friday. And you get to the end of the week, and you're sitting there with about $7,800, $8,000. You know what I'm saying? Most people that see that, they're like, "Oh man, I'm killing it." But you gotta think about it though. That's what I'm saying though. I said people can see that, right? And they forget that they have mad expenses because one, if you carry a lot of weight, that means you'll be putting a little extra wear and tear on your equipment. You know what I'm saying? It's like anybody. You take you and fuel. You know what I'm saying? And the weight is serious. Weight takes, think about it. If we normally weigh 100, if we weigh 200 pounds, right? And all of a sudden now we weigh 300, we walk around with 300 all the time. Trust me, that is some wear and tear on the knees, baby.
And your low back.
You know what I'm saying? And so it does the same thing to your vehicle. And so when you're doing that, that's cool, but you got to understand there's a cost that's associated with it. Right. Mm-hmm. Right. The tolls up that way, the terrain, what hills are there, the fuel is going to cost to get there. So those are things that I advise people to, whether they're doing semis or hotshot. It doesn't matter. Those that you talk to the broker about so they can understand. Because if you're sitting here taking a load from here to Michigan for $1,500, something's wrong, because you got to think about the fuel you're going to spend from here to Michigan for $1,500. People see that number, oh, $1,500, I'm good. Yeah, you think you're good, until you start hitting those pumps, and you get to some of those hills, or you go to Ohio and you catch the mountains on them. And, so that's the education that we want to get out of people, so they understand when they do negotiate these loads, they understanding how to negotiate them. Or if they have a dispatcher, tell that dispatcher to understand how, the terrain is. And that's why sometimes I say it's good. So if you do have a dispatcher, you really need to have that relationship with them so they can understand what it's going to take for the equipment, because it's not straight flat ground everywhere you drive. That's just not the case. Right. Right. Right.
Or you get there and it needs to be tarped.
Mm. Right. Well, nobody should. It's one of those things. Everybody's time is important. Right. Right. Okay. Right. No, that's true. That's definitely true. So what would be some advice you would give somebody that's coming out here in January right now? They just got their truck, they just got their trailer. What's the advice, the good advice, okay? Because we already know the negative stuff that comes with it, okay? Because we don't want to discourage anybody. We want people out here. You know what I'm saying? We want people to get out here and build something for themselves. So what is that advice you want to give them? Mm-hmm. Okay. Right. Right. Mm-hmm. Right.
If a shipper tells you how to secure something and you're not sure about it, call your network of friends, because realistically, once you get down on the road, you're the one liable. It's it's you on the line. It's your company, your load. You're responsible. You have the CDL. You're the professional driver.
Right.
So if a shipper says something, there's nothing wrong questioning it and calling the lifeline. Ask somebody.
Mm-hmm. Right, he'll show you. Right. No, that's true. That's true. That's true. What's your thoughts on that?
I always answer my phone, and yeah, I mean, I'm never gonna lie to you, and I ain't gonna steer the wrong way. We share the same big road, and I just want guys to be safe, and yeah, I mean, a lot of guys that have called me have said you always answer the phone, and if I don't, it's because I'm talking to the broker or I'm actually in the rain loading myself or something. But yeah, I answer my phone and I will help, and there are times where it's like, we have to FaceTime each other so I can see what they're working with, or send me a picture, because a signal's always going to be a problem out there when you're out there. So send me a picture. We can't FaceTime, send a picture, but no, I will help you guys, and I posted in the videos, always call me, because it's hard to text and drive and it's illegal to text and drive. So, call me. You're actually doing me a favor, keep me awake when I'm out there on the road. So we're talking. So yeah.
Hey, I'll say this to anybody. If you're following on Instagram, you're not going to hear the caller through the Instagram. You can go to the YouTube channel, and that's 5iveCast, the number 5 IVECast CAST. If you go there, you'll be able to hear the callers on the call as well. But it's not hooked up to the interfaces for either one of our Instagrams, so that's why you're not hearing it on the IG. So we ask that you go to the live. Okay. All right. Hey, Lee, man, we appreciate you, man. And keep doing what you're doing out there, and stay safe. That's what we want you to do. I know you getting those axles back on, so you can get on out there and make some things happen.
New axles and new shoes.
Mm. Okay. Right. Okay. All right, then. Hey, man, take care, brother.
Be careful. Be safe.
And be safe. All right. All right. Get one more quick call here. Let's see here. Let's see if we can get it on the line. Get it back on the line out here. I just need to know, is this the queen? That's what I need to know. This the queen right here. Hey, listen. I appreciate you. Hey, listen, I appreciate you. I see you over here on the YouTube live. I appreciate you. live. You hot right now. Ooh. Okay. Hey, talk to me, Renee.
Well, 2,500. Well, you can do car hauling. If you're going to get a driver for it, you're going to want somebody young. Getting into car hauling. Anytime somebody calls me, and they'd say they want to do car hauling, I always ask them how old they are, and that's only because to me, it's a young man's game, getting in and out, climbing up and down, and having the coordination. I'm 50 years old and 300 pounds, and I'm way too big for the cars. So for me, I love general freight. I've always done freight. I do equipment, but as far as cars, I mean, that's a different breed. I mean, if you got the hustle and you're young, there you go. I mean, that's the guy you want driving for you. An older guy, he's going to be into the freight, slinging the chains instead of doing the straps and the tires. But and it all depends in your area too. I mean, if there's a lot of dealerships and you can move cars to get out of your area instead of deadheading, then the car freight's going to be the niche for you. But you got to know your surrounding areas where you're at. I don't know. Are you here in Houston? Yeah, there's a lot of cars here. There's a lot of guys that do a lot of cars here out of Texas. So, that 3,500 can handle it, depending on what kind of trailer you're going to be pulling too, But yeah, did I say 35? I'm sorry, 2,500. Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. What kind of 2,500 are we talking? Dodge? What is it? Dodge? Yeah, there's no reason why you can't get away with a 3-car hauler, but you don't want to do a wedge where you're going to have that car up high and it's a single rear wheel. You want the wider wheelbase. So, you can do the 2 or 3-car haul with that 3/4 ton and just be just fine and be safe and comfortable. That is one way. I only know a little bit of information with the car hauling business only because I have buddies that do it. That is one way. They rely a lot. Their clientele are people who call them because they have exotic cars and they're looking. The buddies that I have the enclosures and they're moving, the high-end cars and they want the enclosure for that reason.
I get it.
Sure. Yeah, if you're just going to do the 2, yes, absolutely, because the trailer, the weight of that enclosure is going to be as if you were doing the 3rd car, having the 3 cars. So no, you'd be able to get away with an enclosed trailer with the 2-car with that 2,500, and that's lucrative. I mean, exotic cars. I mean, they're going to pay just because they want the enclosure, so nobody's stealing the emblems or scratching the car when you're at the truck stop or for the weekend and things like that. But no, that's where the money's at when it comes to car hauling is the enclosures. There you go. And then advertise it on Instagram as well or Facebook, and you'll get the other back calls where people are wanting, their vehicle moved back in the area that you live in. That way you can get a back call coming back.
And Ms. Rich, let me ask you this question real quick. So it's 2021. Like, what made you think about or decide to get into this right here? Okay. Right. Right. Okay. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. Right. 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 Okay, so you want to jump in, both feet making it big. That's what I'm talking about. Right. But you and you said to keep the network. When you're doing the right thing, you say you already have somebody that you kind of know that's on top of this right here, and then that's great. And that's really what you want. You know what I'm saying? And as we do this, and like I say, what we're doing on this channel is to make sure, one, we get the education out there for whatever business it is. Like I said, it's not just trucking here; it's any type of business. And it's about bringing SMEs here on the show, so one, that people can ask them the questions and try to make everything as easy as possible. And if we can pass some of our people off to them, that's what we want to do. Right. Right. Mm-hmm. No time soon. Right. Right. Yeah, it's out here. It's out here. We're just trying to encourage people to whatever they're doing within the transportation industry, logistics, whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? Hey, be the best at it. Give the information out. Help people. Just be the best you can be. And definitely. Hey,
What makes you different makes you money.
It's the second time you said that tonight. The second time you said that. That's a definitely a good point. You know what I'm saying? It's about really make yourself different and separate yourself from everybody else, right? Can I ask you something real quick? I'm sorry before you go. And it's because you do big trucks. And what do you think is going to be the difference you see between moving trucks, 18-wheelers, and moving hotshots? You know, from a dispatcher standpoint. Right. 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 Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. Right. Right. And I appreciate that self-censorship. Okay. Okay. Well, you know, I'm glad you're getting out here in it. And you know, it's waiting for you. And I know, you know, you're gonna jump out there, you're gonna jump hard. You know, because you only know one way. You only know one way to do it. What do they say? That's the rich way? The rich way. No, thank you. You know what I'm saying? And then we look forward to having you in the studio as well. So, you know, we're gonna have to get you on up in here. All right. All right. So, man, phone boy, I'm pretty sure you know about 12 times. People call it, but I want to ask this right here. So, as far as she spoke about it, talking to people, mentorship. Do you have a mentor? Have you always had a mentor? And is there someone currently mentoring you?
Marty Henson up in Soldotna, Alaska. Marty Henson up in Soldotna, Alaska.
Okay.
Good friend of mine. And that's a guy that I go to whenever there's big decisions that need to be made with NCT.
Okay.
Any, you know, change, feature change, anything like that. And he's the one who so I stole the phrase from him because it's a phrase that he had taught me that I've repeated twice today. What makes you different makes you money.
Right.
And the other part of that is what makes you comfortable makes you the same.
Mm. You're right. What makes you comfortable makes you the same. Mm.
Yeah. So, and I mean, this guy is just full of wisdom, and I call him whenever, and it's been difficult here lately because of the time difference and where I'm at, and you know, he's got a business that he has, you know, that he runs as well, and so, you know, we got to try to meet up in the middle, you know, when he's free, it's usually after midnight my time, and usually I'm on the road, but you know, so yeah,
Right.
but yes, I do, Marty Henson.
Okay. When's the last time you spoke to him?
Probably a week ago.
A week ago. Okay. All right. Any issues going on in Alaska?
Well, you know, the pandemic and everything.
Right.
You know, things are people are still muddling through. I mean, they're getting by, and it's no different than down here. It's just it's not as bad just because our rural area that we're in, the
Right.
population, the land mass, and everything. It's I've always said if shit hits the fan, I'd like to be in Alaska, and you know, you live off the land and
Right.
everything there that you need. And so
Uh-huh.
I enjoy being down in the States, and that was why I came down here, because it was easier to make money because of the amount of states that we have versus being up in Alaska and doing
Right.
short hauls. And I'm not one to do short hauls because I listen to podcasts and listen to audiobooks.
Right.
You know, I was never a milkman or the beer delivery guy. I didn't want to do 200-300 mile runs. I wanted to do 2,000 mile runs.
Right.
And so I enjoy being down here. And that was one of the things that him and I talked about before I pulled the trigger and did come down here.
Okay. Do you find it more relaxing to be traveling during the winter time down here, just keeping it on 10, and or you just, it doesn't matter?
It doesn't matter to me, but I'd rather drive in Alaska in the wintertime
Okay.
because we maintain the roads
The road's a
better.
lot better, right?
And then we're not using the salt that they use down here. And since they do use that, I try to stay away from it just because
Right.
I don't want to deteriorate Goliath.
Right.
And so, and I've been in the snow country the last few months, but I try to tend to stay down south
Right.
away from it. Otherwise, you know, I'm washing the truck 3 or 4 times a week, you know, instead of just once a week. Just try to keep that road salt off the wiring. It's hard on the wiring.
Right.
So I, you know, even though I got another layer of undercoating under the truck, the bottom of my trailer is starting to take a toll.
Okay. So 2021's here. What is on the horizon for NCT?
Moving to England, baby.
Moving to England. Okay. A lot of restrictions over there right now. You know, their restriction game is strong right now.
Yeah. I got to quarantine for a month. I'll do it.
Right.
No.
And I understand that's the inset of it, but like, you know, you're not going to England tomorrow. So
No.
so what is NCT doing in 2020 right now that he may do a little different or a little better? How about that? Than in 2020.
Clean up my act, be a little bit open-minded, helping everybody, like, you know, doing the videos that I do,
Right.
and you know, I love the windshield time. I love being out on the road. I mean,
Right.
I haven't been home in 20 months, you know,
Mhm.
and so, but just, you know, I got an end goal, save some money, and once my house in Alaska sells, then I'm
Right.
selling NCT, and if I don't sell it, I'm going to part it out, you know, sell the truck, sell the trailer. But the end goal is open up a bed and breakfast in England. But right now, with the pandemic and everything still shut down and closed, I'm gonna hustle, run hard.
Okay.
East Coast, West Coast, wherever the good paying loads at
Right.
going, that's where I'm going. I'm not restricted in one
Right.
spot. I'll go anywhere. It don't matter to me.
So the fact that you can, you said just hustle. So the fact that you can't move the way you do move, and I don't want you to know your exact numbers, but what is on average that moving like you move, that a person that's doing hotshot could expect to kind of look at? And we're only gonna talk gross. We're not gonna talk net. So gross. Without account fuel and nothing like that. So gross, what does it look like?
I'm pretty transparent. I've posted a lot of stuff on Instagram, and I
Right.
show my rate cons, and like I took a load from California and I picked up one in California. 80 miles later, picked up my second pick in California,
Right.
and I was headed to New Brunswick with it. On the way to New Brunswick, I picked up a third pick
Right.
in Utah, Ohio.
Mhm.
All 3 picks took me 1 week to get to New Brunswick, Canada,
Okay.
and that was right under $20,000 in 1 week.
Okay.
I was down for 40 days in West Virginia, but prior to being down for 40 days, I posted it. I had 100 before I was broke down. I showed 130,000, 140,000 on my from my factoring company, what I had already factored
Right.
in 9-10 months, 140,000.
Right. And so, and that's one of those things. And I just wanted that kind of be out there just so people can kind of understand there are numbers in this game if you get out there and you go. You know what I'm saying? That's just one truck, you know what I'm saying, for that time period. You know, so it's really showing people that, hey, you can get out here and you can be successful. You know, you get your couple of trucks on your belt, you get you some great drivers, you know, people that want to get out here and earn and burn, and they're gonna make great money. And you know, and as long as they're safe and doing everything, you know, everybody will be successful.
You know, one of the questions that everybody asks me when they call me, and just like when you were asking Sap and Lee, and you say, what was the biggest concern you had before coming out here? And they already forgot. and it's just because they're doing well.
Right. Okay.
And the big concern that everybody always asks is,
Right.
is there money to be made?
True.
Can I pay my bills? Can I pay my mortgage? Am I going to be able to put food on the table and make the truck payment and have to make a trailer payment? Because I don't have the money to just go buy a trailer. You know, I already have a truck, but I don't have the money just to go throw it down on a trailer. So is there enough money to be made, the truck payment, make the mortgage, and put food on the table, you know, groceries? And these guys, you know, when you ask them what was your biggest concern, well, they're out there doing it and they're able to meet those obligations, and they kind of forgot. Not that, you know, nothing bad. It's just they just kind of forgot because they're doing well, because they're able to put new axles and new rubber, new tires.
And that was a great point. You know, I was hearing him say, you know, because same thing happened to Sap a couple weeks ago. He had a situation where he was out in Alabama. He had a situation happen. He had to leave his truck. He flew back. You know what I'm saying? Time for Christmas. Flew back after Christmas. Picked his truck up. But the thing about it, of course, it hurt a little bit. But at the same time, I was smiling inside because I was saying that's good because he had the money to do it. He had the money to be able to do that, and it's there. You know, for Lee to be able to replace his axles. You know, some people would be, oh my God.
Hey, I was down 40 days in a hotel for 40 days. I mean, anybody that would have bankrupted you.
And the money you weren't making.
$1,000 a day.
And pulling up a bill. And see, and that's the thing about it, you know. So when you are moving your vehicle, you are moving at $1,000 minimum per day. You know, that is it can hurt some people if they don't put their money right, if they don't have the maintenance fund together, you know. And that's why I tell people, listen, when you first get out there and run, you have to run for your equipment first. You know what I'm saying? You have to put that equipment money up first because something's going to happen. You have to understand that. You know, so you're going to be tired, you're going to have blowouts, you're going to have all these different things. If you can't wait, there's other things that will come with that. But then the thing about it is, if you're moving outside of your state or your local area, then you have to understand that people, these mechanics out here, they're waiting to get you. You know what I'm saying? If you don't have warranty item equipment, you know, you're gonna have to talk to some people, and they know how to get you.
There's an hourly rate at the dealer, and then there's a service call rate, and then you got your tow rate. You know, and if you're loaded, you know, hooked to your truck, you know, the tow bill is going to be even more. You know, yeah, you know, and people ask me, you know, what kind of truck should I get? Should I get a Duramax? Should I get a Cummins? Should I get a Power Stroke? And all honesty, they're all going to serve you, and they're all going to get you to point A and point B. It's all in the maintenance and what you're comfortable with, what you like. You know, pick. You know, be true to yourself. And if you're a Ford guy, buy Ford. I mean, if you're a GM guy, buy GM. You know, just buy what you like. You know, and don't do it because the other guy, that's what he's running. You know, buy what you like and talk to your truck. You know, treat it good. You know, give it a name. Name your truck. You know,
you better name it.
Yeah, Betty White.
Betty White. You know, Vanna White. You know what I'm saying? Big hits. You know, you have to talk to these vehicles. I'm telling you, because one, when you're riding along, you hear a knock. I guarantee you that's who you're talking to. You're like, baby, come on now. What's going on with you? You know, because you don't want to be on the side of the road. You know, me and my daughter, I took it out to Albuquerque, and we loaded her car up and drove out to Albuquerque from here. She drove down from Nashville, and I loaded her stuff up and hopped in the dually, and we went on down there, not Albuquerque, my bad, I'm sorry, Tucson, Arizona. And she saw the roads, how dark they were. You know how it is after you pass San Antonio, after you get past Fort Stockton and all that. And it's just like, she was like, what in the world? I said, yeah. Then after we passed Las Cruces, she was like, what? Yeah. I said, yeah.
Desert country.
Now, imagine if you was out here by yourself. She said, I want to came back by myself.
Yeah.
Because, and you don't want to be out there in your vehicle if you don't do proper maintenance. You know, and this is what dispatchers and brokers have to be told and understood.
Yeah, they're gonna hustle you, and you got to take time to service your truck, service your trailer, you know, and own an infrared gun so you can check the temperature of the hubs on your trailer. You know, if you have drum brakes, you know, if you have you know, disc brakes, it's a little different, you know, but it's these little tricks that you need to, if you're not walking by and putting the back of your hand on your hubs to measure the temperature, then you need an infrared gun, you know. You want it 106 degrees or less, you know. And if one's hotter than the other, how come? Well, you got a brake that's dragging, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Your brakes are out of adjustment, you know,
Right.
so you need to jack it up and back off the brakes. And so it's all these little things, you know, and you see guys, you know, with that axle chained up, strapped up, you know, because it blew the tire out or the hub melted, the bearings, or, you know, just be one with your equipment. When you stop to get fuel, you stop at the rest area, take a leak, you know, walk around your equipment day or night, you know, and always have a flashlight, you know, so that you can walk around your trailer and take a look at it, you know, and inspect everything and listen for noises. And like I said, name your equipment. If people don't know me by Renee, they know me from NCT, or they know me, you know, Goliath.
Right.
You know, and just talk to your truck. You know, that you and the truck are going to be out there for thousands of miles, hundreds of hours,
in the dark, in the snow, on the side of the road.
Yep.
You know, middle of nowhere.
Should be
coyotes.
Should be a song. But yeah, you know, and you know, fuel additives.
Right.
You know, oil additives. All these little things will help prolong the, you know, increase the longevity of your equipment.
Choosing the right flat tires for the seasons.
Yeah.
If you are going to run different ones, understand that, right? Because you get on these hot streets of Texas, Arizona, and Nevada, and it's 120 degrees outside, but that concrete is hot, and it's just eating that rubber up.
And if you're going to do 90% pavement, you know, get your highway tire. If you're going to be doing, you know, rig stuff or oil field where you're going to be on leash roads, then, you know, get you a, you know, an all-terrain type tire. You know, it's just, so yeah, know what you're going to, the industry that you're getting into, and just set your truck up, you know, as far as, you know, the auxiliary tank, the type of tires, and all them things, you know, air ride, and a CB radio, because, you know, some scales still talk to you through a CB, or, you know, some shippers will tell you, you know, go to channel 5, you know, and we'll call you in, or, you know, so having a CB radio, and if there's an accident on the interstate, you can get on the CB and they'll tell you what lane to be in, you know, because the opposite lane, you know, truck or other will tell you, you know, you want to be in the right lane, the hammer lane, or good. Having a CB radio to be able to communicate is a good thing. Cell phone boosters, you know, get a cell phone booster so you can communicate with mom and the kids and the broker, the dispatcher, and the receiver, and so forth. But, you know, just a few things that, you know, once you get out here and you're starting to make some money, auxiliary fuel tank, air ride, CB radio, cell phone booster, you know, tire plug kit, an air compressor, you know, just all these little things that a guy's going to need. So when you're off the beaten path and not on the main interstate, you know, and you do have a slow leak, you can plug it, air it up, keep going. And, you know, and I carry a serpentine belt, and I carry an idler tensioner belt, because that's the one that's doing the most of the work. And if it goes out on you, last thing you want is a $300-400 tow bill. Or, you know, if a guy's smart, get an Uber, you know, depending on where you're at. And if there is a parts house nearby or a dealer, so you can get the part if you're able to change it yourself and have the tools. Otherwise, now you're, you know, there goes $1,000 towing it in. But just you know, you almost kind of have to be a MacGyver when you're doing this, and kind of be able to do some of the general maintenance so that you're still keeping the money in your pocket and not paying somebody else to do it.
And that's the key, you know what I'm saying? Make sure you know how to maintain equipment yourself. You do have drivers. Just try to make sure they understand how to do the basic things. You know what I'm saying? Just some simple stuff that's not going to cost you money. And that's the thing you want to say, because when you're on the side of the road, you don't, if you can, honestly, this is just me though, I'm probably a little different. If I could change my tire, because I'm going to change my tire on my trailer, I'm not going to carry anything extremely heavy. And the reasons why, because if I do have a tire issue, I do have an axle issue, that means I have a jack that sufficient enough to jack it up, you know, and I won't have those issues like that. So you want to be those simple things. So that's advice I give to people who are, you know, they're finished with one truck and they're ready to get to the second truck and ready to put drivers in it. When you're interviewing your new drivers, make sure that they can do the basic things like change a tire, jack a trailer up, know where the jack points are in the trailer. You know what I'm saying? To do that. And I'm only saying that, not saying that they have to do it all the time, but they're going to be in some places where you can be in between, the center between Las Cruces and Tucson, and there's nothing out there. And for anybody to come out there, it's going to cost you a lot of money. And I think it's a lot cheaper if you can teach them how to change that tire, or just disconnect from that trailer, put your lock on your trailer, and then drive that truck somewhere, you know what I'm saying, so they get a tire.
You know, exactly. And you said it earlier, you know, when you're interviewing those drivers, hopefully, you know, you can walk them through it or show them how to do a level 1.
Right.
So they know their level 1 is actually part of their pre-trip.
Mm-hmm.
So that before they actually get on the road, they might be able to foresee something before they're 300 miles down the road.
Right.
And you know, and have that blowout, you know, because when they did the walk around, they've probably seen the nail in the tire.
True.
And if you can pull the nail and plug it and air it up, there you go. And a plug is just as good as a patch without, and you're able to do the plug on the side of the road,
right,
without having to limp it in and go to, you know, because most truck stops don't work on hotshot vehicles or trailers, and you're gonna have to be looking for a Les Schwab or discount tire, have them, you know, demount it and put a patch in it. So if you can put a plug in it and you have your own air compressor, you're still rolling. You know, you lost 30 minutes, an hour. You know, so yeah, just vet your drivers and go through a level 1, and you know what a pre-trip, you know, consists of, and that they're able to change out a flat tire,
right,
you know, put a spare tire on it, change out a tail light, change out a headlight, put on a serpentine belt, you know,
right.
Just some of the things that could go wrong when they're 3,000 miles away from the yard.
Okay. Well, you know what? We're at that 2-hour mark, you know what I'm saying, which is great, you know what I'm saying? And I say that because, one, this was episode 1. This was episode 1 here. No greater, you know what I'm saying, feeling than to doing this episode with you, and for you making it out, because I know once you get back on this road tomorrow, I know you're going to be out there and rolling on them, you know, going hard. So I really want to thank you. I thank you for your gifts. You know, he brought me 2 gifts today. And but the one over there, and then the one is really neat. What's the name of the thing again? I don't know the name of it.
Remarkable 2.
Remarkable 2. You know, it's like a pad that you write on and turns into PDF and all this other stuff. And so I'm really messing with that tonight, so I can figure that out, because it's gonna help me out in a lot of things I'm doing. But man, I'll tell you, man, thank you, brother, for coming through. I will ask you if you could just leave some last words, you know what I'm saying, for people who are going to get out here in this, and so this way I know when we come back around to, I'm sure we're going to talk about trucking and stuff some other time on another episode somewhere, but it might be a while because we're going to talk about different topics. But what would you leave with everybody?
Look at other loads going down the road. Acknowledge other loads, how they're secured, how they're displaced as far as the weight, and always have somebody a lifeline, somebody you can call. There's videos for everything. You know, you can YouTube them. You know, they're on Instagram. But have a buddy that you can call with any question at any point. You know, especially somebody that's in the industry, because you know he's driving just like you are. And if it comes up at 2 o'clock in the morning and you have that relationship with him, and you know he's actually driving it those hours instead of, you know, sleeping like a normal person, you know, give him a call. You know, when things, and take a picture or FaceTime them, because it's a lot easier at the time that you're panicking and something's going on, and you know. People call me, it's like, dude, my crystal ball's a little foggy. You're gonna have to help me here. Send me a picture of FaceTime me, because I'm trying to understand, you know, because they're panicked. They're in that situation. But anyhow, you know, have a lifeline, somebody that you can count on. And so things are getting done smoothly, and you're avoiding the downtime.
You know, that's good. That's good. We all need that. I'm sure we all have used it at some point. You know, it's definitely valuable. Hey, I'd like to thank everybody once again. I know this was really primary for YouTube. I just put it on my live just so I can kind of figure live out. I don't really know it that well, and but I know it won't go with the interface for this right here. So, but the next episode, it will definitely be strictly on YouTube. live, and we'll make everything. I'll make sure I have the link and everything posted before. So I thank you all for tuning in, for everybody that tuned in. And we look forward to giving out great advice on all things business, real estate, financial management, business and relationships, which is a big one, mental wellness, wellness and physical wellness. And these are things that we need to pay attention to in the business world, you know what I'm saying? And so we got some great guests coming in. Everybody that comes in, that's gonna be a guest here. It's one of those things where I've already talked to my guests. They're coming in physically. We're gonna do it like that here, and just because I just want to get some type of normalcy. You know what I'm saying? We'll make sure we do everything right with the pandemic going on. We'll be safe and everything, but we just really want to get back to some sense of normalcy in 2021, and show everybody that, hey, you know what I'm saying? We're all gonna beat this. We're all gonna stay upbeat. We're gonna stay professional, and we're gonna make things happen, and we're gonna be successful. So, and that's what we want. So, thank you everybody for tuning in. I really appreciate you, really do. What's going on there, Rat Man? That's my hero there, and I want to drive that car one day. And I was joking. But like I said, Big Rat Man, we're on Facebook. It's 5iveCast, number 5, IVECast. That's my YouTube channel. So I'll have that kind of figured out now, since this was the first one. I'll be a lot better for the next episodes. But I think I gotta look at the calendar, but my next guest will be Jay Rich, the queen of trucking. You know what I'm saying? She's doing big things. She's out of Houston, Texas. She's taking the game over, and she's really, really doing her thing, you know, and she has some insight that she's going to give. She got some big, huge things planned for 2021. I'm talking about huge, golden ad, huge. And so we really appreciate what she's doing out here and everything. And shout out to my daughter, Renee. You know what I'm saying? I love you, baby. She's out there in Virginia doing it big out there. My daughter, Bree, she's out there in Arizona doing it big. And then Brian Second, of course, he's doing his thing out there in Austin, Texas. So appreciate y'all. Thanks for tuning in. Renee, I appreciate you, brother. You know what I'm saying? Definitely come back and see us. I know you will anyway. And we'll probably be talking on one of the episodes when we come through here. And so I'll say good night to everybody, and thank you for tuning in.
NCT out. You guys be good.